We're going to go ahead and build out our final area of this web page, which is going to be our footer. So this will go underneath our form. I'm going to go into my code and just scroll way down to the bottom. And here we go. We'll go ahead and create our footer. And what we're going to do here is we'll start off by using a footer element. I'm going to give this a class of BG dark and a class of text light. This will make this section a dark gray and the text will be light. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a container. In addition to the container class, I'm going to add a my of 4, which is margin on the top and the bottom, and then we'll also add padding of 4 all the way around. Inside this div, I'm going to begin by creating a section. This is going to have a class of row. And in addition to the class of row, let's add a class of d-flex, which will make this a flex item. And then we're going to use align-items-center, and that will allow the items to vertically align in the center of this particular row. Inside the row, I'm going to create an article, and my article is going to have a call-md-4 class, as well as a ps-6, which is padding on the left of 6. And then inside the article, we'll start off by using an h6 item. I'm going to add the class of text uppercase to make the text display as uppercase, as well as margin bottom of 2. And this is just going to say contact. Then we're going to make a list, and we'll use a list-unstyled class so that the list does not show the bullets. The list is going to have 4 list items, and they are going to contain some Font Awesome icons. So we're going to use the I and a class of FAS, as well as a class of FA. And then each one is going to need its own unique class, but I'll populate them all with home and then go back and change that. And I'm going to make margin on the end of 3, which is margin on the right. And then I will go ahead and expand that out. And for our first item, we're just going to put San Diego, California. And for the second one, this is going to have the email address. So we'll change this to fa envelope, and we'll go ahead and put the email address. The next one is going to display our phone number. So I'll populate this with the phone number. And the final one is going to be a fax number, so I'll use the print icon there. And if we save now and just give this a refresh so you can see what's happening, this is what we currently have. Now my icons are very large, and the reason that they're this big is because we had used a CSS rule previously on our Font Awesome items that are setting the font size to 3 I don't want the footer Font Awesome items to be that big, so we're just going to make a more specific selector here, and we'll just say footer space da fos, and then we're just going to set the font size down to 1 If we save and we refresh, you'll see how now these are much smaller and they look much better. I'm going to go back into my index page, and I just realized that I had margin on the bottom of 4 on my container. I actually just want it on the top. So let's just change this to an MT-4. I want that dark to just end at the bottom of my page instead of creating white. So that looks pretty good right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually just copy this article. And inside of the section, we're going to create our next column of content. So this content right here is still going to have a class of call-md-4. We're going to change the text here to say quick links. And again, I'm going to use text uppercase. I'm going to create an unordered list and leave it as list unstyled, just like we had before. And inside of our list items, let's get rid of all of these icons. And what we'll do here is we'll create some null links, and these are going to have classes of text-light, and we'll just have the text say, for now, link 1, link 2, link 3. All right, so that's going to create my second column. Then we're going to go ahead and make one more additional column. For this one, we're going to go ahead and I'll just paste in again. We're going to use the article. We'll keep our H6, but we'll just have it say Sea Lives. And then I'm going to get rid of the unordered list and simply make a paragraph with some lorem ipsum text. After the section closes, I'm going to use an HR element. And if we save right now and we refresh, you can see what my current footer looks like. And now we're going to make the next section of the footer, which is going to appear underneath that horizontal rule. Once again, I'm going to create a section. This is going to have a class of row, and we'll add our d-flex class as well as our align items center. Inside of this section, I'm going to make my first div. This is going to have a call-md-7. So this is going to take up a little bit more than half of the space. And all we're going to do here is just have the copyright symbol show up, and then we'll just write copyright, and we'll put a year on there. And then I'll just put the name of our company, which is Sea Lives. And after that div closes right there, we're going to create one more div. This one's going to have a class of call-md-5. And I'm going to also use text-md-end, which will force the text to align to the right edge of this particular containing element. And inside this element, we are going to create a number of links. We'll just make them null links. We're going to give these classes of btn, classes of margin of 1, and class of text-info. And these are going to all contain some font awesome icons, which is going to be our social media. So they're all going to have classes of FAB in addition to classes of FA-, and then we'll have to put in our social media icons. And let me just throw some parentheses on here so we get 4 of these. And there are my null links. They have the classes, and here are our font awesome items. So the first one is going to be a link for Facebook. The second one can link to Twitter. The third one can link to Instagram. And the final one can link to YouTube. And I'll save. And if we refresh now, you can see that I have this little footer, and then here are my social media icons down at the bottom. I do want these to be a little bit bigger than the other icons. So in order to do this, I'm just going to add another class so I can hook these with my CSS. We'll add a class of social, and we'll come to our CSS right here, and let's add one more rule for footer.social.fab, and then we'll set the font size to 2 And if we go ahead and refresh, you can see how these get a little bit bigger. They're a little too big right now because of how we divided the page. So in order to circumvent that, I think I'll just reduce these down a little bit. And in addition to that, instead of using our division of 7 and 5, let's just make this an even split since we don't have very much text in that first column. And that looks much better. So now we have our custom kind of footer that contains 3 columns of content as well as a 2-column area. And I think that our page now looks pretty darn good. So as you can see, we just did a handful of custom CSS to style this, but for the most part, we are using Bootstrap to build out this page. We have made it look unique though by using the various classes and really customize the look of this so it doesn't look like a standard Bootstrap page necessarily, but it is fully responsive. And in addition to styling the page, we've added some kind of cool components like our carousel, our web cards. We did this form that has this nifty validation, and then we have this custom footer. And there you go.